All righty. Welcome to the Fall River Conservation Commission meeting tonight, Monday the 3rd, 2021, 5:30, Zoom. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such a recording or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived by those present, are deemed acknowledged and permissible. Ooh. Where'd I go? Okay. Roll call. Andy Liss.
Here.
Louis Farah.
Here.
Okay. Jim Hornsby. Jim. Hello, Jim. Hello, Jim. Yeah. Hello, Jim. We're just doing roll call. Can you acknowledge?
I'm here. I had a technical problem. It's fixed.
Okay, thank you. Tonight's commissioners are participating remotely through Zoom. Is John Brandt, Andy Liss, Louis Ferreira, and Jim Hornsby. First on the list is further review of enforcement order issued regarding 57 Frederick Street and review of status required restoration plan continued from April 5th, 2021. Mr. Kenny, do we have any updates on this?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we do. I spoke with the owner's attorney this afternoon. And previously, a couple of weeks ago, Paul Furland and I and the owner and her attorney walked her neighborhood, actually. And as we knew, and now we can confirm, this is a problem that's a lot bigger than just her parcel. And Mr. Chairman, I think you've been out in that neighborhood as well, if I'm not
Yes,
mistaken.
a few times, yes.
We're trying to see if we can get a more comprehensive solution to this problem. Paul Furland has a few ideas, and Attorney Walsh, the owner's attorney, has a couple of suggestions. And what I'm going to recommend is that at this point, we dismiss the enforcement order and just continue the matter to the next hearing for a further update. In the meantime, we may have some more definitive proposals for you, but it's going to involve the owners along Frederick Street and potentially the owners of the parcel on the other side of the swale out there that recently had a proposal in front of the zoning board, which was denied. But we're hoping maybe something will come of that a comprehensive solution to this problem can be worked out. So that's my recommendation, is to dismiss the enforcement order and to just table the matter to the next meeting for a further update.
Okay. Can I have a motion to dismiss the enforcement order and table this to next
So
month?
moved.
Okay, roll call. Andy Liss,
Sorry, John. Yep.
Louis,
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Okay, John, yes, vote passes. Next is a report of City Planner Acting Commissioner Agent regarding violation at 2450 Indian Town Road. This is continued from April 5th, 2021 meeting.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman and members, I'm going to ask you to table that to the next meeting. We're still waiting for the representative from the Endangered Species Program to contact us to let us know what involvement her agency might have in trying to resolve the problem at this location. Her interest has to do with a endangered species that has part of this land as a habitat. And we're waiting to hear. A lot of these folks, at the state level, still working from home, and their response time is sometimes slower than we might hope for under normal circumstances. But I ask you to table it to the next meeting, please.
Okay. Can I have a motion to table this till the next meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Andy?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Louis?
Aye.
John, yes, vote passes. Next on the list is ratification of issuance of enforcement order against Kenneth Pacheco with respect to Bay Street and Chase Street property by Acting Commissioner William Kenny, continued from April 5th, 2021 meeting.
Thanks for the promotion, but I'm just the acting agent, not the acting commissioner. Got enough titles. But yeah, what happened on this? We've got a correspondence from a downstream neighbor from this location at the corner of Bay and Chase, where some new houses are going up, and there's a drainage stormwater runoff situation that's impacting the downstream neighbors. I went out there with the new city engineer, Chris Gallagher, and met with the engineer, whose name escapes me. Who was it, Brittany? Do you know who the engineer was on this one?
Chris Gallagher or JR?
It was Alex. It was Alex Gorodetsky.
Oh, Alex.
Yeah, we met out there, and the solution to the problem seems to require the construction of a swale. And we've told the owner that they got to do it. They've drawn up the plans. Chris Gallagher's approved the plan for the swale. And we've told them that we're going to keep the enforcement order open until that construction is completed to the engineer's satisfaction. And that will hopefully resolve the problem in that neighborhood. So I'm going to ask that the ratification part of it is that I took it upon myself to issue the order, which is legitimate, provided that you folks later ratify and confirm that that was okay for me to do.
Oh,
So I'd like you to ratify my action in issuing the order and table the matter to the next meeting for a further report.
Okay, can I have a motion to ratify the order enforcement and table to next month?
Sure.
sure. So
We
moved.
got a motion, second? Jim, Louis, a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Andy?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Louis? Louis? Okay, we must have lost him. My vote's aye. I guess we have back connection with Louis. So we'll move on from there. Votes 3-0. Next on the agenda is notice of intent. NOI file number is SE-24-756. Owner applicant is Carlos P. Abdab, excuse me on the last name, Camp Provoto. I probably said that
Right.
wrong, sorry.
Campo Verde, I think.
Rivati.
Campo
Okay.
Verde.
Project location is Frederick Street. Assessors map is C-15-7. Table from April 5th, 2021 meeting filed by SciTech Inc. on behalf of applicant Carlos P. Campita. Construct a single-family home and associated grading utilities, and a portion of the project falls within the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland.
So on this, we received an email earlier today from Dan Aguiar, who's the engineer representing the proponent of this project, in which he asked that it be tabled to the next meeting because they're changing the design of the house. And I have no objection to that. So, in the meantime, I'm going to recommend to the board at the appropriate time that we have a independent peer review consultant get involved to give a second opinion about this particular project and its potential impacts on the wetlands and the drainage situation in that neighborhood in general. But I'm waiting to get another estimate for what that might cost. Shouldn't bother you guys too much because the applicant's going to have to pay for it. So We'll have more on that next time. And so really what's in front of you right now is Dan's request to table it to the next meeting while they change the plan of the house. And I have no objection to that and recommend that you do that.
Okay, so could I have a motion to table? Okay, I have a motion. A second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Andy?
Second.
Jim?
Aye.
Louis, are you back on? Okay, John, yes, vote passes. Next on the agenda is a notice of intent. NOI file number is SE-24-760. Applicant is Fall River Redevelopment Authority. Project location 600 Duval Street, filed by Beta Group Inc. on behalf of Fall River Development Authority under MGL Chapter 131, Section 40 for work associated with redevelopment and improvement to city pier at 600 Duval Street. Projects within the area subject to protection, including riverfront area, coastal bank, land subjects to coastal storm flowage. Project includes replacing large areas of concrete, hand-packed gravel, and lawn, green space, improving drainage, and providing walkway paths, meeting ADA standards. Electric lines will be temporarily installed to support facilities necessary. Who's here tonight representing?
This is Sarah Page. I'm the Executive Director of the Redevelopment Authority. And we have a few of our team from Beta, and I'll let them introduce themselves. And then I can just tell you a little, I'll tell you a little bit of our introduction that you know a lot about this city pier. It's been going on for a very long time. And this is a final improvement, bringing the pier to a point where it will serve as open space for the city. And eventually we expect to have transient dockage there. But this plan brings sidewalks, grass, areas for concerts, for food truck nights and various activities. And we're very excited about this next stage of really bringing the pier to being a public amenity. So I will pass it to Julia at Beta, and others from Beta can introduce themselves as well.
Thank you, Sarah. This is Julia Stearns with Beta, and I'll review the resource areas that will be affected by the project. And as you noted, are part of this notice of intent. And to begin with, would you like me to share my screen? I have the plans available and photographs.
That would probably be easier for, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now, if I change, can you see this, the photos as well?
Yes.
Okay. So to begin with, the resource areas associated with the project include bank, riverfront area, and land subject to coastal storm flowage. And the existing conditions on the site include this short concrete wall that actually makes up the bank. This wall sits on top of the existing bulkhead that confines the pier. And riverfront area extends 25 feet inland from this bank and consists of hard packed gravel and some areas of concrete. I'm going to go back to the plans. Land subject to coastal storm flowage is basically the entire site. And I'll move down to where we've got some proposed activities. So impacts to bank are associated with the installation of a guardrail system, and the impacts will occur as a result of bolting down the guardrail support poles, and that will consist of approximately 227 linear feet of impacts to bank. Riverfront area on this site encompasses approximately 41,000 square feet and consists of hard packed gravel and concrete. And this area will be converted to approximately 25,000 square feet of pedestrian sidewalks along the bank, and the remainder 16,000 square feet will be converted to lawn area, green space. Work will also include installation of lighting within riverfront area. Now, for the remainder of the site within land subject to coastal storm flowage, impacts will include minor grading within the eastern portion of the site, filling to construct 4 earthen berms. 2 of the berms are identified as landscape berms, and they will be elevated to 2 to 4 feet above the existing grade. And these berms will house electrical equipment to power the lighting system. And these are necessary to elevate this electrical equipment above and outside of the flood plain and flood stage. The other 2 berms are called Consolidation Berms, and they're going to consolidate the contaminated soil on the site. And these berms are designed to meet the EPA's clean, risk clean figures. The EPA's risk-based cleanup and has been approved by EPA. All 4 of these berms will include a landscape plan that includes plantings of shrubs, trees, and herbaceous vegetation. The remainder of the site in the eastern portion of the site will include construction of a paved driveway access, as well as additional sidewalk areas. In addition, the project proposes installation of an irrigation system that will maintain the lawn and new vegetation, as well as stormwater improvements. And prior to construction begins, the site will be protected with erosion controls, and specifically silt socks will be placed in existing catch basins, and erosion control tubing will be placed around areas to protect any downslope resource areas. And with that, I can turn it, if anybody has any questions, or I can turn it back to Sarah.
So all the work will be done on land, right?
Yes. Yep,
Okay.
there won't be any work done below or on the opposite side of the bank.
And the drainage will flow into the city sewage?
Actually, the Todd Davis with Beta, if he is here, he could answer those
I am.
questions. Oh, great. Thank you, Todd. So I'll turn it over to Todd.
So currently there's 3 outfalls on site. It's kind of hard to see on the plan, but there's also, as part of a previous project on the site, there's 3 stormwater treatment units, each one servicing a different outfall. So we'll be able to utilize that as part of this. And since we're reducing the amount of impervious area, like it'll be a huge benefit to all stormwater flow into the Taunton River.
Okay.
So the only real improvements we're making is we're adding in 2 gutter inlets on the inside of the driveway area, and then those will just connect back into the existing catch basins, and then we'll change those catch basins from framing grates to framing covers. And also there's a subsurface infiltration system proposed to help remove all stormwater that gets onto this site. And they will
Okay.
also flow to the stormwater treatment units prior to exiting to the Taunton River.
Okay, does any of the board members have, Jim, any questions?
No, except it certainly will be an improvement.
Yeah, I was down on the site. It looks like it's gonna be pretty good. All right, Andy, any questions?
Nah, seems pretty good to me also.
Okay, Mr. Kenny, any comments on this project?
No, I don't have any comments on it other than, thank God, we're finally getting to the finish line. It's been a long time. And it's a good project, looks good.
So I guess we'll make a motion on granting. I'm at a loss here now.
So you got to issue an order of conditions.
Okay. Yeah, I guess the order of conditions would be hay bales during work, before and after checking. Should we have anything else in?
As long as they comply with the plans that they've submitted, I think you're all set.
Okay. As long as they follow the plans and silk fencing and stuff, can I have a motion?
Does this get open to the public for any comment before a vote?
Is anyone here to comment?
Sure.
Alrighty. Do we have a second on it? Jim?
I'll second it, but I would like, if there's someone that wants to speak, I think they, I know that you recognize people at the time of the issue rather than wait until after we vote.
No, I did ask if anyone wants to speak on it.
I know, I'm just making sure that it got through. My reception is a little choppy.
Okay.
Okay,
So-
well, let's vote then.
Alrighty.
Okay, thank you.
Roll
Just
call
didn't
vote
wanna
on
leave
it.
them out.
Andy? Jim?
Yes.
John, yes. Vote passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Good luck.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Next on the list is a notice of intent, NOI file number is SE-24-761. Applicant is Department of Conservation Recreation. Project location is Freetown, Fall River State Forest near Copacut Road and Grinnell Path in Fall River, map 19, lot 10. Filed by SWCA Environmental Consultant on behalf of applicant DCR for expansion of off-highway motorcycle trail network in Freetown and Fall River State Forest for work occurring within the designated NHESP habitat, crossing a BVW, 2 intermittent streams, and proposed within a 100-foot buffer zone of several other wetland resources. Overall goal is to replace a minimum of 4 miles of trail, potentially up to 7 miles of trail within the existing state forest, having been lost with the disposition of 300 acres in the Fall River Development Authority.
Thank you. Paul Janegy here for Department of Conservation and Recreation. I'm our Director of the Trails Program. I'm here tonight with Jess-Anna Kelly from SWCA Consultants.
Could you speak a little more slowly? I'm having trouble hearing you.
Yep, sorry, I will try to do that. Mr. Chairman.
That's better, thank you.
You're welcome. I think there's a little delay maybe on my line. If I do have a short presentation, a few slides I could share if it would be helpful to give an overview of what we're trying to do here.
Sure.
Great. I will share my screen. So if you can see my screen, what you see on here is the state forest map. Are you able to see that?
Yes.
Great.
No, not really, no.
I am try to zoom in a little bit here,
I
but
mean, it's clear, but I have my own bio. I'm going to have to pull out. Have you written on that?
There's some wording down here.
Okay,
Um,
yeah.
This
right,
is
I
a-
know.
This is our green
Is it
map
the
of the
same as
state
this?
forest. It's actually a different map than the bioreserve map. This one is our state forest map. And this also was included in the NOI materials that was sent to you as well. This is our trail map for the state
Oh,
forest.
okay.
And the orange trail that you see here is the existing off-highway motorcycle loop through the state forest. And what we're talking about today is this, the blue
Oh, this map.
trail down here. This is primarily existing trail within the state forest that we're proposing to allow authorized use of off-highway motorcycle on this loop to provide an additional loop for riding in the state forest. See if I can. So here's just a sort of a closer version of that map. And then this is the GIS work for the map. It shows we're proposing to authorize on what's shown here in green, and also at the same time to close some existing unauthorized trail through some of the more area that's more suitable habitat for rare and endangered species that's shown on this map with the red X's. We will also, as a part of this project, be installing a few what we call puncheons, which are a bog bridge structure in a couple of areas where it's either rocky or within wetland buffer, and then or intermittent streams. And then there's one wetland that we're crossing here or one BVW that we're crossing in the middle of the map here. So this is the puncheon we'll be installing on this wetland, these other intermittent streams, and then buffer zone areas. Sorry, this is going to be a little hard to say, but this CAD drawing was also included in the NOI packet, which includes the wetland areas as
Yeah,
well.
what page is that?
This would have been in the appendix. Jess, do you know
Okay.
what page this is in the filing?
I can check 1 second.
Okay,
I
try to
think
get
I've
you that
got it.
information.
Yeah, it's really hard.
Evan, on the right, where
Appendix,
improvements, and then at the bottom it says 3-1.
3-1.
the last one. Three.
Yeah, I remember there's a few that say 3-1, but above that it'll say the title of the map.
Repair and maintenance activities. No. Okay, go ahead. I know the bioreserve fairly well. Just keep
Okay.
going, and I'll ask questions at the end. It's between the smallness of the figures and maps and the breakup of the clarity, it's difficult.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Apologies.
It's the second page of Appendix F, if that helps.
Appendix F.
Yes.
So here's a couple of photos here of what the existing trail looks like now. In some areas, here's this is an area where it's going through a rocky area here. Actually, sorry, I think through this alignment.
Yeah.
This is one of the intermittent stream crossings, and
Yeah.
we will be spanning this. This is an area where we'll actually be doing a trail closure of an unauthorized trail through here. And here's a couple of other photographs of the intermittent stream crossings. Within the wetland crossing, the existing trail through there is, roughly about on average about 6 feet wide. So our proposal is actually to build what sort of looks like is what behind me here in my profile picture, a puncheon across that is about 3 feet wide. So we will actually be reducing the impact to that area overall through this project. by about 700 square feet.
If they write on it, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll stop sharing here. If we want to go back and look in more detail at any of those figures, I'm happy to bring those back up. But guess I would welcome questions from the commissioners.
Now, doing the work, I guess that's just the crew going in. Is there heavy equipment or anything?
Yeah, sorry, I meant to mention that. All this work will be done by trail crew with using hand tools. So they will be using chainsaws to limb up any vegetation and building the puncheon with hand tools. So no heavy equipment, no grading, no excavation to speak of. This puncheon back here will be on sills, so those will be leveled, but other than that, no excavation.
Kind of like doing the Appalachian Trail when you fix it up, like, okay, alrighty. Now, are you going to have that over every stream or wetlands?
So this kind of puncheon will go through that one BVW area as well as over the 2 intermittent streams, and then in one of the other buffer areas where we thought it would be valuable. And also included in the filing is our sort of operations and maintenance plan for ongoing maintenance of the trails as well.
Okay. Board members, any question? Andy?
The only concern I have is where it's getting near the wetland. These vehicles that's going to be utilizing it, are we going to be contaminating the water? Sorry about the echo.
So again, within the wetland area or near the wetland areas, we will be building these puncheons or boardwalks. Our experience is that the riders do stay on those because that's actually a better experience through these areas, which tend to be either be rocky or sometimes, will get muddy. And so the vehicles will stay on those. I think your question, so I think they will actually be protective of the wetland resource area. I think the only question relative to your question potentially is, if there's some kind of a spill or something like that, and we would have a spill protocol if that happened. So our EPOs would be called, and we would clean that up if that happened.
Now, in your maintenance, what is that, like once a month or something? You have a schedule where you?
So it would actually probably be an annual monitoring protocol, and then identifying any problem areas to address on an annual basis.
Hey, John?
Okay. Yes, Andy.
Yeah, I just want to address one other thing, and I apologize for the terrible audio. So you mentioned the spill protocol. How long is the reactionary time to that? You said it's a regular maintenance, but if someone dumps a bike and it gets polluted, how long is the response?
Sorry. So, I'm not aware that kind of thing has happened on the trail system, but if that.
Excuse me, could you repeat the member's question? Because I could not hear the question.
Can you do it?
Could
Let me
repeat it?
Let me try to repeat it. I think he was asking if, for example, there was a trail motorcycle that crashed and that resulted in a spill of gasoline, for example, what would the response time be for that? Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. So, and I guess
Okay, thank you.
Yep. As I said, I'm not aware that kind of thing has happened. If it does happen, that would be an accident in a spill. And I would imagine that would be, potentially either a 911 call or an EPO call. And, those EPOs and or DEP would be out there, I don't know what the specific response time is, but it would be a quick response time to clean that up.
Excuse me, when you say EPO, is that environmental police officer?
My apologies. Yes, environmental police officers, right, who have jurisdiction on our state forests as well.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask a couple of questions, or assuming the board members are done?
Yeah.
Jim, did you have any questions?
Why don't you go now, Bill?
Okay.
I'll go to you, Bill. Go ahead.
Okay. First question is, you mentioned that this project involves discontinuing some of the existing unauthorized trails. how do you discontinue the trail? What's the work involved in making them disappear?
Right. So we have sort of a trail closure protocol that we use. It involves primarily, first and foremost, providing the better alternative, which is what we're trying to do here. Secondly, to close off the sight lines and put some physical barriers, sometimes dropping a tree or two in front, to close off that trail. And those would primarily be at the intersection points. So it would be a combination of closing sight lines and physical barriers to close that trail off.
And you've done that in other projects, I imagine, huh?
We have, and I think one of the keys again is if there's a good alternative, a better alternative, that the users will use that alternative and allow that trail closure to be successful.
What kind of volume of traffic do you have in this area now? Do you have any idea?
In this particular area where we're authorizing this loop, I don't know what the traffic is. I do know there's sort of a combination of mountain bikers that use this area as well as some pedestrians, but I don't have an idea of the current traffic.
Is there any conflict between the pedestrians and the motorcycles? I didn't really think about the fact that I could be out there walking very slowly
Yep.
and some motorcycle comes around the corner and that's the end of me.
When this becomes authorized for off-highway motorcycles, we will sign it that way. And so it will be clear to users that that is an allowed use on that trail.
So the pedestrians would be aware that they should be aware.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah,
Oh, it would
the
be
other
our
question I
fault.
had,
Okay.
I'm sorry, as Mr. Liss mentioned, the response time to a spill or really to anything unusual or dangerous out there, there's no call boxes or anything. You're out in the woods and there's nobody there on a daily basis monitoring it, except maybe Mike Labossiere. Is he, from the city? You know Mike, I'm sure.
I do.
I'm surprised. I don't see him on the call. Oh, wait, there's a Mike. But I guess he's out there from time. There he is. I see him. I hope he'll throw in his comments. But the other thing I saw in the filings that there's an endangered box turtle that is in this area, and you've made arrangements to avoid any serious impact on that species, right?
So Jess, I don't know if you want to address this as well, but we've been working with the Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program throughout this process, and they have issued us a conditional no-take determination and requested that we submit a turtle protection plan while we implement this project.
Yep.
Okay.
And
Go ahead.
most of our trail closure was actually based around specific requests from Heritage to close off motorcycle use in like critical centralized habitat.
So complying with that would be part of any order of conditions that this commission would issue. Right?
Mhm.
I don't have any other particular questions except I see Kurt Gettner's name on the board. I hope he'll come on and say hello. Is he working with you guys? Paul, is he on your team for this?
I have some questions.
There he is.
Hello,
Mike.
Bill.
How you doing?
Good. Doing very well. Good to see you. Yes, I've been involved with this project on behalf of the Secretary's office, the Off-Highway Vehicle Committee, and other off-highway vehicle functions fall under the Secretariat. And for that reason, paying attention to what's going on here in the Fall River Freetown State Forest. So pleased for you.
Yeah, if
Is
this
that
gets
Kurt?
your seal of approval, that helps me a lot.
Okay.
So yes, Paul and team capably handling the project, but yes, paying attention to and involved with the background for this project.
Okay, thanks. Jim, do you have some questions?
I certainly do.
Okay.
First thing I want to say is that I will ask the committee, very least, to put this off for a month. And at very most, to cancel the project. I ask you to consider voting no, and to take a month, if you're not sure, to think about it. We already have motorcycles in our bioreserve. And I will go through, and the question is, I think, should they remain? Should they continue to remain in the bioreserve? Now, I'm not totally satisfied with the research on this particular project. I've had exactly 3 days review the material, and I can assure you that I've spent several hours at it. I point out that you have that the size of the bioreserve is about 16,000 acres, maybe a little more, 13. And there are some other errors that I picked up. It would seem that you question of the motorcycle use. One of the rationales for this project is that motorcycle people, a lot of motorcycle distance in the 300 acres that the city took over to essentially for industrial park usage. So did everyone else. So did every citizen in Fall River, for that matter, in southeastern Massachusetts. That was some of the finest walking area. It had significant highlights. It's close to the ledge. There's a college rock in it. There's sorts of attractions. And for the good of the total bioreserve, which is absolutely magnificent. We, meaning the environmentalists and other folks, the people in charge, the secretary of and so forth. Okay. But they were not the only person who lost something. Not the only people. Now, let's see. Yes, I am going to go down my list and then with questions and so forth. One is that there is lots of unauthorized use today. I don't think that the motorcycle people are going to stay on any new path. I've seen them go right around a sign which says no motorcycle use. It's a yellow sign right on Copacut Road, right there. I don't think it should be there. They are dangerous to walkers. I received an email today. I had sent out a letter to several people, and she basically said that she was afraid to walk in the and other areas that adjacent areas where the motorcycles are because she's afraid of them, and they run right by. I would like to ask now, what is the total cost of this project? Estimated. You know?
So I guess I appreciate I appreciate the commissioner's comments. I guess I think it is important that we restrict ourselves here to discussions that are jurisdictional to the Wetlands Protection Act. And I don't have a.
No, the Wetlands Protection Act says we are to protect wildlife. Do you have an estimate on the total cost of this? I mean, is it $5,000, $500,000? That's my guess.
I don't have an
Okay.
exact estimate. I guess I am not sure that that's.
I don't want an exact. A range would be fine.
It's really not relevant to what we're going to vote on tonight, Jim.
Well, I think and I should ask how much does a puncheon cost, but what I'm saying is this is a big job. Okay. There's a life of permit phrase that I did not understand on page A6. What is the life of a permit,
Life of the permit is generally 3 years unless it's extended by the commission.
We would extend it every 3 years, presumably.
Ye-
Unless we vote to extend it forever now. I just wanted to know, did I get it right?
I guess I'm not sure exactly what language you're referring to. The permit is, the life of the permit is, and maybe Jess can add here or correct me here, but the permit is the issuance of the order, or maybe the agent can clarify here. If the order is extended, that permit is extended. We are asking though for consideration of ongoing operations and maintenance in this filing. So
Right,
for
right,
the
I
commission
understand
to
that. I
for the
understand that.
commission to consider, yeah, that as an ongoing condition.
Okay, if I could ask you, I don't know if you're, but are there any other parks in southeastern Massachusetts or Cape Cod that allows, I think there are not, but I'm asking you because you would be more informed than I.
I think you asked if there were other parks in southeastern Massachusetts that allowed motorized use. Was that the question?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
Yeah,
the question.
there are 3 others, Franklin State Forest, Rentham State Forest, and F. Gilbert Hills State Forest.
Rent them? Okay. And they work well there? Okay. Well, I don't think that the motorcycle people, and by the way, we're all talking off-road vehicles. I mean, things with 4 wheels that have motors. No,
We're only talking about 2-wheeled off-highway motorcycles here. We're not talking about ATVs or UTVs or trucks. Those are not allowed in our state forests, except on the public ways.
okay, and would a bicycle you pedal or had an electric component be eligible?
Um, an electric assist bicycle would be allowed on the trails that otherwise allowed motorized use, correct? Your other question gets a little technical relative to our current regulations, and I'm not sure I want to
Right,
muddy the water with that, but
okay, the waters are already muddy, so I don't see any,
apologies.
with the trail, how we close, just a second, you're answering all of these things. Except, and I conclude, some of the area is a mess. If this doesn't work, it's going to remain a mess. And I don't see any point to it. Ask my commission members to think of this and either put it over for a month and go out there and look some more, or don't know. I think that's pretty much, I don't think I can say it any more clearly. I don't want them there. I think they're dangerous. They're noisy. By the way, are they to come every day? Like hunting is safe on Sunday. I won't get shot. Is there
So
a day like that for?
there is a riding season. They are not allowed to ride during mud season or in the winter. So I think that they're not allowed, I think, from October to May, if I'm not mistaken, but that's also weather dependent. We sometimes extend
okay,
that closure season.
Okay, but there's not a day of the week, outside of that. Okay. I can tell you that they're riding. I can tell you that recently we had a report, and I believe it to be true, that they went up and down the bridle trail, which is actually on the between Route 24 and the reservoir running off Wilson Road to the water department. Uh, and these are not, and the last point I'd make is, do any of these things, okay, motorcycles have oil and stuff that falls off them. And I've seen lots of motorcycle parts. I try to take them if they're not too heavy. What about the gas and oil and stuff from them? Because that a lot of that area, that wetland area, I think, ends up either in the or in the Copacabana watershed or the Quikasham watershed. Do any of these places, I mean, does this bother, is there so much stuff that it is dangerous, is what I'm asking? This I don't know, you say.
So again, I think, as we discussed, I don't know of any times where, say, gasoline has been spilt. I think the only time that might happen is if there was an accident, and then there would be a response to that. But it's not something that
No, I
is
don't know.
generally
Yeah.
coming off.
Okay,
this.
fine. I'm not referring to accidents. I'm referring to everyday use. Okay, well, thank you. I've said my piece, and I hope the commissioners agree with me.
I appreciate the comments. Can I make one sort of general comment, Mr. Chairman?
Sure, go ahead.
I think, part of our purpose in this project is to provide some better legal riding opportunity at the forest. I appreciate the commissioner's comment about the fact that there's a lot of illegal riding going out there, and that's uncontrolled and that's problematic. And so again, part of this project is to provide better legal riding access, with the ideal that then the legal riders will take advantage of this, will be on structured and allowed trails, and that will cut down on some of the illegal activities that are going on out there.
Well, we had just to respond to that, we had a ride years ago. It was a ride, and a Boy Scout had just built, as an Eagle project, a bridge parallel to the main bridge over Baker Brook. The ride took place. It was scheduled to go over the main bridge. After the ride, all of the handrail was on the newly constructed bridge was knocked off. Rope, posts, everything. The chairman, whatever the motorcycle group is, I talked to them, called him. He had no interest at all in repairing it. Had to get repaired, but so I'm extremely concerned that I hope you're right, but you are. I think there will be even more motorcycles, even more illegal riding, as well as riding on the designated trail, which I hope is well marked. But I'm assuming you'll do that.
Yeah, we will mark the trail.
It's not marked now, mostly. I don't know why, but it isn't. Thank you.
Oh, okay, we do have some public input. Sandra Lee?
Susan Lee.
Good. We're not.
Susan Lee, sorry.
Yeah, Susan Lee. Yes, I'd just like to make some
Could
comments.
you name and address? And
My name is Susan Lee. I live at 336 Maple Street in New Bedford, and I hike in the Freetown State Forest. So my comment is about enforcement of the rules in the Freetown State Forest. As some of the previous speakers have said, there's a lot of illegal riding. I've been on many supposed hiking trails in the Freetown State Forest that are completely destroyed because of motorcycle activity there. There'd be a big sign, saying hiking only, no motorcycles. And, the trail is completely destroyed because of motorcycles. I mean, there's it's a joke. It's a joke to think that a sign is going to make a difference. I've been up there and there's no enforcement whatsoever. The endangered species I'm worried about is the endangered hiker, especially the endangered senior citizen hiker. As Bill said, you take your life in your hand to go walk on some of these trails with the motorcycles zooming around. So, I'm very skeptical that this plan is going to achieve its goal of preserving some of the trails for hikers. And I'm also concerned about hiking trails that are lost in the area that went to the Fall River Development Authority. If we're trying to replace, the motorcycle trails, how about the hiking trails? I just feel like Freetown State Forest is becoming sort of a hostile place to hikers on, in these nice walking periods. The muddy season, the winter season is not a good season for hikers. The hikers are out there at the same seasons that the motorcycles are out there. And, I'd like to see some enforcement, maybe some complete separation of areas where motorcycles are allowed and hikers are allowed, so that these two paths do not cross in order to protect everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else
Thank
out
you.
there for citizen input?
You've got Michael Bossier raised his hand.
Okay, Michael, go ahead.
Mike has to figure out how to unmute. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, so Mike LaBosse here. I live at 32 Pembroke Drive in Dartmouth, but I'm the city of Fall River's watershed forester. So a couple of comments, and I'll try to keep it jurisdictional, but Paul and the rest of the team did a very professional job in terms of identifying an area suitable to expand, dirt bike use, and the plan that was set forth is pretty clear, and I can follow it and all of that. What I regret is that DCR, and to some extent in partnership with the Division of Fish and Game, might take that same diligence and apply it to the whole state holding in the state forest. Because if those punch-ins as they were presented and a lot of the other mitigations were used in some other areas, that would make a real difference. I don't think there's been any kind of an inventory. I know that years ago DCR did a GPS inventory of the whole trail system. I know there have been more trails put in since then. The trails wind in and out of different ownerships, and there's really no overriding kind of a plan for the whole thing. And as a result, I think that there's a lot of difficulties. There's a lot of what I would call collateral damage being done on properties that aren't intended to be used for motorized use. And I know everybody knows that. And Susan made some very good comments relating to potential conflict with motorized use, and also the impacts of motorized use. I could rattle off a dozen areas. Motorized, dirt bikes are crossing the Copacut River itself, which is the primary feeder to our reservoir. Motorcycles are, and you know what? I can't even say just motorcycles, because there's more use than just motorcycles. They aren't all that great of a problem as one might think, but motorized use comes in the form of side-by-sides now. There are Jeeps, there are trucks, and I don't see how necessarily encouraging more motorized use is going to help the overall problem. Motorized users are going up and down power line easements, gas line easements. They're eroding banks along public roads. They're crossing dozens of streams with no mitigation and no apparent maintenance whatsoever. They've created trails that don't appear on the map. So on and on. So I guess where I started saying the work that went into the new trail system is good. And it probably accounts for 3% of the total of the motorized trails on the state lands. As the forester for the city's Watuppa Reservation, we don't allow motorized use. And so, Susan, I would actually say to you, I invite you to come down to the Watuppa Reservation or the trustees of reservations, which also has a property, 500 acres off Indian Town Road. These are areas that, we do our best to keep off-road use, from using. But I think, Susan made a lot of good points in terms of enforcement and things like that. So I would like to see DCR do a more comprehensive analysis of the impact of all of the trails, and this might be a good place to begin. I think that's all my specific comments I had at this time.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Is there anyone out there we're missing? Brittany, do you see anyone else? Is it input? Alrighty. Bill, any further up on this?
I just was thinking when some of the comments were being made, is there a size restriction on the type of vehicle that can go out on these paths?
Well, it's only motorcycles, and they actually have to be registered motorcycles. So I'm trying to think of how to answer that question. I don't know that there's a size, restriction on that. But again, we're not talking about ATVs or UTVs or anything like that. So, generally for ATVs and ATVs, we have 1,000-pound restriction, but I don't think anything like that is coming close on the motorcycle side. So,
in fairness, though, there's nobody at the entrance having them drive onto a scale to check it out before they go in. Enforcement is an issue. It may not be an issue for this commission to pass on, but it's an issue. The other thing was, thinking of the size of the motorcycle, they come in all different sizes. You've got some that are as big as a car, and they make noise. What's the impact of the noise on the wildlife? That's got to be an issue, isn't it?
I think that gets to be a fairly complicated question. I've seen a lot of research about recreational impacts on wildlife, and what I can say about that is that every recreational user has impacts on wildlife, and it also depends on what wildlife you're talking about. For instance, bird watchers actually tend to be fairly disturbing to birds because they sneak up on them, kind of a thing. There are some animals that do respond to motors and noise, but other animals that I think don't respond to motors and noise. So that's a complicated question. But I will not deny that noise is one of the impacts on wildlife.
I think Rob Murphy wanted to comment on that too. If Rob Murphy.
Yeah, I was just saying that I could, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I was just saying that I could come. Someone had a question about the size or the weight of the vehicles.
Yes.
Using trails. Typically on a trail like this, it kind of lends itself to a smaller motorcycle. Most of these bikes weigh 200 to 250 pounds. You're not riding like a big Harley Davidson or something on a trail like this. It would be more of a lightweight off-road motorcycle.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, could you just have Rob Murphy state his name and address for the record, please?
Yes, Rob, could you state your name and address?
Robert Murphy, 5 Hidden Street, Providence, Rhode Island.
Thank you. All right, Bill, you want to follow up?
No, I'm all set, thank you.
Okay.
John?
What's that?
Can I say something?
Yes, Andy?
I've got to agree with Reverend Hornsby on something. I don't believe I said that, but this is a lot of information and it's a severe environmental impact possibility on multiple levels. I mean, you just vehicles going through disturbing it, the wildlife. I mean, granted, yeah, humans disturb birds, but it's one of those things. It's not a motorized vehicle that can kill somebody. So it's you can kill a hiker, you can kill an animal, and if they're going off road, I mean not off road, but off path, they can kill the spotted turtle, whoever a box turtle. I just think maybe we're jumping into this too fast.
All righty. So maybe, Bill, we should maybe table this till we have a full board?
Well, you could table it with the concurrence, with the agreement of the petitioner. If they're willing to put it off for a month by agreement, then you could do some further study if you like.
Yeah, I guess I haven't heard, I've heard lots of opinions about motorized use and lots of concerns about enforcement and things like that offered. I have not heard anything about the NOI filing or the regulations themselves or that on which, this would be denied, for example, or any requests for information that we didn't provide or that we were deficient on or anything like that. So I guess I'm having a little
Well,
hard.
I did. I'm sorry, I forgot to, and I interrupted you. My apologies.
Thank you. I mean, so I guess from where I sit, I'm having a hard time thinking that concurring to a continuance gets us anything on this.
Well, it might give the commissioners an opportunity maybe to focus again on some of the issues that you're more focused on, things that are more germane to the NOI itself.
So is that where we are? The commission would like to ask if they could continue, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, would you mind?
I guess I can agree to a continuance. You only meet monthly? That's a long time.
We could probably come up with a meeting in 2 weeks or something, and we'll check the calendar and see what we can do.
It sort of depends a little bit on availability of Alex and the Fall River GTV
Right.
folks. From every once in a while when we try and have a meeting shorter than the usual continuance date, we find they're all booked up, but we can.
So also, in order to table, you have to have a date certain so that we don't have to re-advertise?
Yeah, that's true. I think the safest thing to make sure we don't foul it up is to continue it to a date certain, and the only certain date that we know now is the next regular meeting date.
More time to study it.
May I, just a comment, since I'm obviously want to put it off to study it some more. I had 3 days. Look at this. Oh, that's not one of the reasons that I would like some more time. I would also love it if the authorities could come in with an overall plan, this sort of kind of thing that our city forester suggested.
Yeah, I appreciate Mr. Labasia's comments about, other needs in the state forest and other aspects of the plan. That's not the filing that's in front of the commission, with all due respect. So, that's not going to happen for this filing here. And Jess, can you remind me, when did we make the submission to the commission?
This was submitted digitally on April 16th, and the mailed copies were received, I believe, by the following Tuesday. It was by the
So they were
printed
received by the
deadline.
deadline. Yeah, they were received by the deadline. Reverend Hornsby came in later to pick up.
I mean, I appreciate the commission, having careful review of the project. I do think we all need to not bring our personal opinions about motorized use to the table here, because it is an allowed use on trails in our state forest. If the commission thinks that a continuance, a month is a long time, but if a continuance for a month is beneficial for this review, I will agree to it.
Already, I mean, you did answer some good questions,
Thank
like the bridges going over the wetlands and
Thank you.
the streams. That satisfied me a little bit. But just to make the rest of the board, if they'd like to have a continuance to next month, I would appreciate that. It'd be nice. Great.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I don't really want to get into a situation where next month, then there's requests for some additional information that, somehow,
Well,
then delays it another month and another month.
no, this is not my purpose. My purpose is not to delay. My purpose is to change policy. And whether or not it's in the NOI, I think that's how we care for the forest is really important.
So I appreciate that. The NOI is not going to, I mean, I don't think there's, I haven't heard anything that would have us modify the NOI filing in any way before next meeting. I certainly don't think policy at the state forest is going to change before the next meeting. But
can I add something?
Yes, go ahead.
I've just heard a lot of unclear questions here. I think it's important to add that there is already legal use of the forest for motorized vehicles. This is a plan to extend the use of more trails that are already existing there.
That's understood, yeah.
Sir, could I just have you state your name and address for the record?
Yes, my name is Jesse Tolpa, 99 Main Street, East Greenwich, Rhode Island.
So do we want to make a motion as a board to table this to next month or discuss it a little more?
Yes, so move. I'll move that, but I'm not perfectly willing to talk some more. Want me to
Okay.
make that motion?
We just
So
made it.
moved. The table until next.
Do we have a second on that?
I'll second it.
We have a second, so we'll take a roll call. Jim?
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
Yes. I will table till next month.
I appreciate the commissioners hearing the presentation, and I look forward to seeing you next month.
And could we send you any emails, Jim, to you with any questions? That way we can kind of get this settled by next month. I think we have your email anyways, don't we?
Are you talking to me?
Well, I'm just saying, if you have any questions, we can communicate with him.
I don't have his name. I don't know your name because it's not that you didn't say it, but the earlier on the thing was, the transmission was extremely choppy.
Sorry. My name should be on the screen. It's Paul Janegy, and my email is paul.janegy
Oh, okay. Yeah.
at mass.gov.
Okay. I know who you are. Yeah, I know who you are. We've walked around there. Yeah, I know who you are. Okay. But see, part of this is Zoom too.
It's all
Okay.
fun, isn't it?
Well, thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you. See you next month.
Thank you.
Next month.
Good night.
Yep.
All right. Next is a notification request for determination acceptability off-highway motorcycle OHM trail expansion project filed by SWC environmental consultant on behalf of DCR Freetown Fall River State Forest, installation of 0.9 mile portion of a new segment of proposed trail and utilizing 0.2 miles of a partial existing authorized trail for trail reroute around the OHMN Bell Road parking lot work located within a 100-foot buffer zone of BVW, also submitted for review NHESP.
And Mr. Chairman, before we get into that, I just want to make sure everybody knows what that next month date is. Did we announce it?
June
We said the
7th.
next-
June
Say
7th.
again?
June
June
7th.
Okay.
Yeah.
As for item number 3, that's just, there's no action necessary by the board. That's just notification from the Freetown Conservation Commission telling us that they've received a similar sort of presentation or request for an NOI from the folks that we just heard from. So the trail is
Place on file.
partly in Freetown, partly in Fall River. So that's the Freetown part that they've just let us know that they're dealing with that.
Okay. So we don't have to
The
vote on that.
secretary, let them know what, no, but could we transmit our action to them so they know what we did with our, just that we delayed it for a month?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what
Oh,
our
I'll call
requirement
them
is on
right
that.
after.
In fact, I don't even know if they're.
No, it's not a requirement, absolutely not.
Yeah,
Okay, don't worry about it.
Well-
Don't worry, I'll handle it
okay.
as a
thank you.
private citizen.
A
Okay,
volunteer.
all righty. Next is
No
notification of,
titles.
all righty. Next is notification of work pursuant to 220 CMR subsection 22 no action by the board was required. Notification is filed by National Grid, New England Power Company, or Mass Electric Company received on April 20th, 2021 regarding upcoming sideline vegetation management activities such as tree pruning, tree removals within electric transmission right-of-way, easement, sideline work to be conducted between May 6th and March 31st. That's just to let us know that'll go on file.
Right, that's just work that they're really entitled to do. It's exempt from the jurisdiction of the commission, but they are required to notify us that they're doing it.
Yep. Next is another notification of work is submitted on behalf of New England Power Company regarding subsurface investigations within an existing transmission line right-of-way geotechnical activities N12 and M13, 115 kV transmission line having previously completed subsurface investigation within its existing N12 and M13 right-of-way in August 2019 and February 2021. And that's just to put on file, notify us.
Same situation, yeah.
Can I have approval of the minutes from April 5th? Second. Roll call. Andy?
Yes.
Jim?
Aye,
Aye, okay. Do we have any citizen input?
yes.
Brittany, do we have anyone signed up for citizen input? Christine, anyone signed up? Okay, seeing no citizen input. Can we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Second? Jim?
Sure, second,
Okay, roll call vote.
yes,
Andy?
Aye.
Jim?
yes.
Okay, aye. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Alex.